Good morning, everyone. Eagle X from ATX Eagle X Gaming here today. I have a deck profile for you. This was the deck that I took and got 34th place with at DC1 this last weekend. I call it the Digimon Mystic Mind deck, otherwise known as an Ophani Loop deck or others. If you guys enjoy this content, I would definitely appreciate it if you guys can like, comment, and if you felt I've earned your subscription, subscribe to the channel. When I see you guys are supporting me and I see these numbers grow, it lets me know I'm going in the right direction for creating content that you guys enjoy. In addition to that, if you guys want to try out your decks and see how well you're doing in the meta, I do run weekly tournaments on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. You can find the link down in the description below. With that being said, let's get started with the deck profile. So first, I like talking about ideal openers. This is based off the deck I had from last format. I called it Waifu Control, but now it's just simply a Ophani Loop deck or Mystic Mind deck, as you like the thumbnail may have caught your attention with. But this deck is meant to lock your opponent out from the game. You still have the tempo approach of cheap recovers with multi-check swings, while you floodgate your opponent, and it can really put the game in your favor easily. This deck was really built around with Crossheart, Jesmon, Melga X, and Minerva all in mind, because the floodgates of Psychmon, Gazimon, and most importantly Venusmon, you can lock out a lot of your opponent's effects and their abilities to play the game from their strategies. Normal ideal opener, you still want to lead open with a Gato and Yellow Tamers, as you can tutor a lot of your deck and security still for pieces you need to start your game plan. And yellow-purple options are very powerful, and having access to them is a great way to really put you ahead as well if you're stuck with them in hand. So this ideal combo, this is something that I've mentioned before in the first profile, like the Gatomon into the Anji from starter deck for 1 memory, because the Gatomon's mainline text, going into an Anji X to recover 1, and then an Ophani to recover again. But one thing that's very relevant in this format now is Ophani's second effect. If you have a purple source, mainly from a Gatomon, you can pop a level 4 or lower Digimon. This happens a lot if you're going against Cross or other decks with floodgates they leave out. The yellow source lets you get the recover that isn't capped, which is great. But there's some other cards I want to point out in this deck profile. First, Underworld's Calling. This is a card I've added to the deck for extra floodgate recursion and value recursion in the deck. But this card not only plays a purple level 4 lower Digimon from your grave, it also has an effect if you were to trash it from your hand. So if you have a Demimera or Niaramon that says draw 1, pitch 1, you can pitch this card to draw an additional card to cycle your hand and make use of what would normally be a dead option in hand. The next thing I want to bring up is Psychmon. He has all turns for both players, saying you can't reduce play costs. So this is amazing against Cross, so they can't reduce their effects for crossing. Similar with Blue Flare. If you try to cross, you deny the cost reduction. But this also stops you from playing Death X and Avenge Kid for reduced costs as well. So be careful if you have a Psychmon on field. Now, this is something I really want to touch on. Venusmon is one of the most powerful cards in this deck, and it's probably the most confusing for people as there's a lot of things going on here, and understand the applications of this card. So first, reading the card, the Digivolving effect says all of your opponent's Digimon gain security attack -1 until the end of your opponent's turn. This is just like the security effect of Holy Flame. This is a blanket aura that will apply to every Digimon, including Digimon in Raising, Digimon that go over Tamers, Digimon that get played from hand for crossing. They will have the security attack -1 applied to them. Now the next thing is the opponent's turn effect, and this is the crazy part of the card. All of your opponent's Digimon with security attack can't attack this Digimon, and cannot activate when attacking and when Digivolving effects. Security attack refers to a modifier for a Digimon. Whether this has +1 scary check or -1 scary check, it is a security attack keyword. And an important thing in Digimon is security modifiers will stack, but they do not cancel out. So what does this mean here? So a very popular deck in format is Guru X, Melga X, whatever you prefer to call it. But let's say that you just evolved an Angelmon into a Venusmon on your turn. It is now your opponent's turn. You have the when Digivolving effect of Venusmon live, giving Weregaruru a -1 check. So it has the keyword security attack -1. Venusmon's opponent's turn effect is live here. So that means if Weregaruru was attempting to swing security and restanding using its when attacking effect, it will not be live, as you have security attack -1. This is the lock that Venusmon will provide here. Now, the thing that will get a lot more people is this part here. When you go into Weregaruru X antibody, and this is the same turn we're talking about here, where Venusmon just evolved, and now it's your opponent's turn, and they Digivolve Weregaruru into Weregaruru X antibody. Assuming you have 8 or more cards in hand, you have the keyword security attack +1, and you have the keyword security attack -1 from Venusmon at the same time. This means Venusmon's opponent's turn effect is still live, so the Weregaruru X's ability to, when Digivolve and restand, return a level 4 lower to hand, will not activate since you have these 2 security attack modifiers. This also applies if you were to go into Melga X antibody to attempt to bounce the Venusmon. And this is where the lock is super powerful and potent, is understanding if there is a security attack modifier, lots of cards here are in various decks, you will be locked out of when attacking and when Digivolving effects. So Gaiamon, he always has security attack +1. If you're playing against Blue Flare that crosses with starter deck Greymon, you'll lock them out as they will have the security attack +1 modifier. If you're playing against a red deck with Taikamiya, all their Digimon will always have +1 check if they have the correct number of sources. Jesmon, they can time it really well in a Jesmon deck to not have security attack +1 and choose not to play a Sistermon from Jesmon's effect, and then go into Jesmon GX as a way to kind of play around it. But once they get that modifier, they will not be able to activate any more when attacking or when Digivolving effects. But these are just some of the cards that will naturally have +1 check very frequently, so be mindful if you're playing against these decks. Now is the deck profile, and just briefly talking about it. Bafani Loop was a security tempo style deck that when I created it, it was meant to be a very control heavy deck, but now with innovations from other content creators, it's been pushed to be more of a tempo focused deck where it's even more aggressive than I thought it could be. The inclusion of the Rush Black Gatomon, the use of Mastemon were great additions, and with how the format has adapted, I think that some of the additions they had are kind of phased out, so I don't think the win rate or the Mako are as needed in this format. Purple Mimi is something I've been teasing around the idea with, but in all honesty, in a cross format where you have to be very aggressive, having less combo pieces in hand is going to be more consistent way to having the deck run well. One card that I didn't put on here that I actually really should put in the other cards section is other Angelwomons, to have Angelwomon X live more often than not. But this deck was something very near and dear to me. I loved it. I had a lot of fun this weekend. It's not a very popular deck, but it can do very well given the right spot, format, and with a very average hand, you can work out a lot of situations. Now you may notice the use of Avenge Kid and Junomon for an infinite loop with the callings. You're not built to go infinite normally, but if you go against slower decks, Black or Greymon in particular, you may find yourself needing to do that. I know in one of my Black or Greymon matchups this weekend, I actually had to use the infinite as I was about to deck out, and they had one more stack with Black or Grey. I was able to get my Chaos Degrades and return their Black or Grey to their security, trashing another card. But a lot of the cards I found super useful this weekend. Avenge Kid is probably the least useful card besides the one matchup I used him in. But the Dracmon came up to recur the Calling from Darknesses. Death X came up in every cross matchup. Something very mindful of. Death X can Digivolve over Venusmon, Junomon, or not Venusmon, over Afani, Junomon, and Mastemon. That's something that I did a lot to people when they had their own floodgates out. When I went against a Jesmon player, they had Solarmons on the field denying Death X from being played from hand. However, I Digivolved over a Mastemon in a matchup, and I cleared their entire board besides the Jesmon itself. Well guys, if you enjoy this content, I appreciate if you can drop some support down in the comments below. With that being said, take care y'all, and have a nice day.